Hey everybody, this is Kristin Kidgell with Real Life Women. Today we are bringing back Suzanne Marsh, and as you may recall, she is a finance, relationship, and health coach. And at the end, we will hear how to find her. If you want to know more about us, always remember there's another video where we recorded where we kind of Q&A'd each other. So today's topic is, I do not want to get this wrong. Do relationships really make us happy? And I honestly, her and I have spoken about this quite a bit. I think this is a great topic. So we are going to dive deeper right out of the gate. Why is this topic so important? What are you finding out there?
Oh, I'm finding out there that our expectations about our relationships are really huge. They put a great strain on our relationships when we have these great expectations. And one of the expectations a lot of people have is that the relationship makes us happy. When in reality, the relationship can enhance some happiness, but you need to take responsibility for your own happiness and make yourself happy. New relationships give us about a 2-year bump in happiness, and then we start to return to baseline. When we return to our baseline happiness, a lot of people think there's something wrong with the relationship because the relationship isn't making us happy anymore. When really we need to turn inward to our own happiness, and the relationship actually helps us do that because it brings out the things that we need to work on in ourselves to create our own happiness.
Ooh, so self-reflection for sure.
And relationships are great teachers for us to find the topics that we need to work on. It's forgiveness, judgment, control, separation, identity, unconditional love, and divine guidance. A lot of the problems in relationships stems from those 7 life lessons. And for example, if we haven't learned how to forgive, sooner or later, we're all human, your partner or a family member is going to do something that you need to forgive. And that's when that unraveling of the happiness also starts. So rather than expect the partner or the family member or whoever you're in a relationship with to change, we need to learn how to forgive. We need to master that life lesson. And then it doesn't mean you don't hold people accountable. You can also hold people accountable and forgive. So that's not part of, this topic. But I don't know of a certain book where you can go pick up all these things. I'm in the process.
Right.
And so
there you go. Perfect. Perfect. Future video. So in essence, what I hear is responsibility, personal responsibility.
Yeah. I think our relationships are our greatest teachers if we step back and we take a look at what this relationship is here to teach us. Because the dynamic between 2 people, regardless of what the relationship is really a place where you can go inward and look at where you need to grow and then bring that growth into the relationship. It's kind of like, instead of working out our stuff on each other, we need to work out our stuff with each other. But our responsibility is for our stuff. But that relationship can help, or it can get in the way. But it does teach us either way what we need to do in our personal lives to increase our own happiness. And then when that 2-year bump in happiness goes away, we go back to baseline. We think there's something wrong with the relationship. And then we want to find a new relationship to get back to that happiness, when really we can break that cycle and just find it in ourselves.
It's funny because as you were talking, I was thinking that reminder of this is not just the romantic relationship. This is your relationship with your neighbor or your children or your coworkers or anything like that. Yeah. We're all here to teach or learn from each other on some level. And we tend to definitely forget that.
Yeah, we tend to say the word relationship and think of romantic. Mm-hmm. When we have so many wonderful relationships in our lives, my relationship with my children, my relationship with my close friends, those are all incredibly valuable relationships. So it's just not a romantic relationship. We can look back on our childhood and the relationship with our parents, and that tells us a lot. Where we can grow and find our own happiness through that.
Learned behaviors. What were we exposed to? Huge.
Exactly.
Huge. Like when they're old enough to grasp it, that age group of like 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 is like, you are the product of who you're spending your most time with. And it's been us for a while. Sorry.
And then those
or you're welcome.
patterns pop back up in relationships. With my kid's father, I knew, this is the difference between knowing and awareness. I knew I didn't want to repeat my parents' marriage.
Yeah.
But I did it anyway. I woke up one morning and I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe I did this. I knew I didn't want to do it, but I didn't have an awareness of the patterns and the conditioned thinking that I had. So started digging deep into that, and also not relying on that relationship to make me happy. I needed to take control of that myself. So that started that relationship, and repeating my parents' marriage was actually a huge gift, because it brought me to realize that I had work I needed to do on myself, and became aware of those patterns and those beliefs so I could shift them, and I could put down that old baggage that wasn't helping me. And then I don't need to go on and repeat it in the next relationship, because we did not stay together. I learned my lesson. I needed to move on. And, things just got better and better and better as I went deeper with these topics.
If you could sum it up, why do we need to be responsible for our own happiness? Big picture.
Big picture. We need to be responsible for our own happiness, because an unaware life is kind of a life unlived. And we're only going to come to that ourselves. We put great strain on our relationships when they're expected to make us happy also. And that takes away some of the joy of the relationships. If somebody else is completely responsible for making you happy, and you don't take some of that responsibility yourself, there's a lot of pressure there. And sooner or later, we're human beings, we're gonna mess up. And if these issues aren't resolved, it really begins to disintegrate that relationship and the quality of that relationship. When you start getting those miscommunications and your perceptions come in and things get distorted, it puts great strain on our relationships. And we can avoid some of that pain by taking responsibility of our happiness on ourselves. And again, that phrase, we'll work out our stuff with the other person, not on the other person.
I agree. And to grow up in something like that, it's not just watching it, right? This is like stuff that has to be talked about, because you could just watch it, but you may not pick up on the nuances of these people really making an effort to have these lack of expectations. I mean, the words that you use, the expectations that you use, you are making a conscious effort to, it may cross your mind to do this, but you're doing that. And so that also, I think, is important to realize. You're going to have this in your brain where you're like, oh, my old me, or what I want, or my ego is like, wants to say this and do that. And like, no, that's not me anymore. That isn't feeding this relationship. That's not feeding me. And so you can't just go and make yourself happy and still be in a relationship. You have to have these conversations. So,
yeah. And then our relationships become so much deeper and so much and so much more meaningful when we can work on these things together. That romantic love in the beginning, that's a glimpse into how we can make ourselves feel and how we can feel every day, or maybe not every day when something comes up in life that we need to take care of, but we can go to that feeling. We don't have to have a romantic partner to have that level of love. We can have it any day we want it, at any time, because then that's why it's important to be responsible for it, because you can give it to yourself. What a beautiful gift to give to yourself. And you don't need another person to get there. And what a wonderful thing to wake up one morning and decide, okay, today, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to love myself. And you walk through the day with that peace and that love without needing another person to do it.
Let's wrap this up with things that people probably should get a pen and paper out for. Relationship killers.
Oh, that goes back to that 7 life lessons.
Yes, I like these.
One of the biggest is judgment. When you start judging the other person, that other person will start withdrawing from you. Protection, protect that that emotion, protect their inner self from that judgment. So judgment is a huge relationship killer. And then forgiveness. And I'd say that would be backed up by control. Control issues are really difficult in relationships. And over time, if you can't forgive, and if you need to control the other person, and if you feel like you need to judge the other person, you're just going to erode that relationship over time. And this is really important between the phrase that always comes up. I hear it so many times. Well, men will say, I want to fix her. That's a judgment. And that's just one tiny example of how
Men say it and women do it. Like they don't even realize they're doing it. I think that
yeah.
was a generational thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's just one tiny example of a judgment that somebody needs to be fixed. Well, what's going to happen if somebody tells you you need to be fixed? You're going to start shutting down. And the relationship is sooner or later, even if you're together, the relationship between the two people, not the physical, the physical being together, living in the same house or something like that. But the emotional part of the relationship is going to wither and die. And then you go into the next relationship. And if you're still judging, it's going to happen again. So those are the reasons we need to look and take responsibility and look at those things. And it might sound difficult, but I'll tell you what, when you walk out in the world and you're not judging everything, the world's more beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful place to be when you can forgive. And again, you can hold people accountable and still forgive. You don't have that weight on you, and the world's a more beautiful place. So it may seem like a difficult thing to do. In the long run, it's the easiest thing to do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I know eventually we'll do some more videos about the financial, heaviness in relationships and all these different things. If people were to go looking for your blogs and your website, and how could they find you and reach you?
They can reach me through my website. It's probably the easiest way. And that's SuzanneMarsh.com. It's SuzanneMarsh.com. And my blogs and my information, appointment setting, everything is on there.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And I will make sure that it's in the descriptions in the video.
Yeah. And I want to say I appreciate you for bringing these topics up.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming to join me. It's super exciting to keep moving forward with this around our crazy lives. But it's important. It's so important. I mean, it needs to be out there. And I know that it's out there, but if we can just reach more people, and just not necessarily women, but I think it's going to be huge. So
it's an important topic. A person just popped into my mind, and they're getting pretty late in their life, and they really haven't taken the time to look at any of these things. And there's really, I can see parts of that life that are so unlived that didn't need to be unlived. And yeah, I just hate to see that happen. I would like people to go into their lives and look at these things and then truly live and grow, and didn't live that life of love. So.
And I think, I've read books and read articles and things, but it's pretty typical, I believe, unfortunately, on people's deathbeds when they're trying to fix a lot of this.
Yeah.
So why wait, right? Just sometimes it's better just to try to make the baby steps now and no regrets, because, know better, do better.
Right.
Okay. Always good to see you.
You too.
Until next time.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.